Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top five are correct, and then make predictions for next week's top five. So let's get right on into it. Last week, I predicted that number one would be Jigsaw, number two would be Suburbicon, number three would be Boo 2 A Medea Halloween, number four would be Thank You for Your Service, and number five would be Geostorm. And I only got 1 out of 5 of my predictions right this weekend, mainly because one of the predictions I made actually turned out to be a pretty big flop. So let's go over what happened. Number one was, of course, Jigsaw. The Saw movies have had a great history of opening near Halloween with relatively low budgets and doing very well. This was obviously expected to open at number one. What I was very surprised by, though, is that this movie only opened with $16 million, which is the second lowest opening for a Saw film. The official lowest opening would be Saw 6's $14 million opening, and then you have the first Saw. This movie's right behind it. The first Saw opened with $18 million. So I think that shows a little bit of declining interest in the Saw franchise, especially since it's been like 7 years since the last one. But because of that budget of being only $10 million, plus when you look at the worldwide numbers, which is $25 million right now, it just kind of shows that this will not stop a studio from making any more. If they really want to continue on with this next Saw storyline that they have, they could totally do that. There's really nothing stopping them because they still made their budget back already. So if we see another Jigsaw movie, it's because its budgets are always low and people will always go out to see them. That's just what's going to happen, especially because of Halloween. And number two, a little more funny on Halloween, Boo 2 A Medea Halloween. These movies are also going to do really well, mainly just because Medea is actually more popular than you might expect. I guess it made $10 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $35 million, and this is only on a budget of $25. It still needs $15 million more to double that budget, but since it's still at number two after I think it's second or third weekend being released, I think it has a good chance of getting that budget back domestically, and maybe there will be some more numbers worldwide. I forget if the first Boo had a worldwide number that actually got its budget back more so than the domestic total. I forget because that was like a year ago and I barely remember that movie. But we'll just see what happens here if we get a Boo 3 out of these numbers. Moving on to number 3, which is Geostorm, making $5.6 million, adding to a domestic total of $23 million. Now, some people might be surprised that it actually stuck around a little bit longer in the top 5, but what really surprised me was looking at the worldwide numbers and seeing that it already has made $136 million. Last weekend it was at 60 and now it's bumped up to 136 million, and it has a budget of 120 million, so it needs to get 120 more than the 240 million to be considered a success. And this movie actually got a really good boost worldwide, so this movie might actually be considered a financial success if it actually gets past the 240 million margin worldwide. We'll just have to wait and see on that one because right now it's a little too early, but it did cross that halfway point, so we'll see. Number 4, Happy Death Day, making $5.09 million, adding to a domestic total of $48 million, and on the worldwide chart it is sitting at $68 million. Of course, because Halloween is getting closer, this movie of course was still going to stick around just a little bit longer, so it makes sense. I think it'll stick around just a teeny bit more. Then next weekend we'll see a little bit more of a decline because Halloween is past and not too many people will be in the mood for scary stuff. At least the majority of people won't be in the mood for that. Number 5 is Blade Runner 2049. This movie's actually still hanging on tight into the top 5, even though financially it's not doing that well right now. It made $3.9 million, and that adds to a domestic total of $81 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $223 million. Now, last weekend, I said that China and Japan still have release dates for October 27th, but when I checked on the website, it still didn't have any info on how much it earned from China or Japan, so I don't think they have added the total yet, unless this is the total and they just didn't update the little China margin. I'm not sure. I'm just hoping that the numbers worldwide get past 300 million so that this movie can be considered a technical financial success, because I love this movie and I'd hate to see it flop. Number 6 is Thank You for Your Service. Kind of expected that this movie wouldn't do that well. It's not like it had the greatest marketing campaign. It's not like it had the buzz of American Sniper. It's just a movie that also has a really tough subject matter dealing with it as well. But it did make $3.7 million this weekend, which is, it's okay for this kind of movie, but when you look at its budget of $20 million, that's definitely not very good for this thing. I'm sorry, Miles. I'm rooting for you, Miles Teller. Number 7, Only the Brave, making 3.4 million. And hey, this is another Miles Teller movie that is not doing very well. Ah, dang it, Miles. And that adds to a domestic total of $11 million and a budget 38 million. It still needs to get to $76 million. Definitely not going to get there anytime soon unless worldwide wise that'll bump it up, but so far we haven't seen any. So I'm so sorry, Miles. I was really hoping for the best of you after reading the thank you for your service numbers, but this is... Oh, at least the roles are better. I'm sure the movies are better, at least. Number 8, The Foreigner, making 3.2 million, adding to a domestic total of $28 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $117 million. Very good for this film. Jackie Chan doing much better than Miles Teller right now. I don't really have much more to add on this movie, though, so let's move along to number 9, which is the most interesting movie of the week, Suburbicon. It only made $2.8 million this weekend. The movie, directed by George Clooney, written by the Coens, and starring Matt Damon, Julianne Moore, $2.8 million. Wow, that is a big flop. And this movie actually did very well, marketing-wise at least. There were some cool trailers and commercials going for it, but when the actual reviews started to come out saying that it wasn't too good, that's when you could say that this movie officially died pretty much at the box office, was when those reviews came out. Even worse than most people might have even expected for this film. That is extremely disappointing, especially knowing the talent involved and also the budget, $25 million. There's no way they're going to be able to double that or get that back at all. This is a really big flop for October. But now closing out the top 10, it is It, making 2.4 million, adding to a domestic total of 323 million, and because it's almost Halloween, worldwide wise, it has grossed $666 million. That's right, we're closing off this box office talk with a horror film around Halloween that has grossed $666 million worldwide. How magical is that? But now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. I'm going to say number 1, obviously, Thor Ragnarok. That's a given. Then I'm going to say number 2 is A Bad Mom's Christmas, because the first Bad Moms, unfortunately, did very well, so we have this movie. Then number 3, Jigsaw. Number 4, Boo 2, A Medea Halloween. And number 5, Geostorm. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave it in the comments below, and if you got your predictions right for this week, you're going to get a shout out right now. Unless you didn't get it right, then I'm sorry. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.